As with other monthly meetings, this meeting is recorded for future offline viewing. We have a full agenda today, which Keith Elliston, the CEO for the tranSMART Foundation, will review, and we'll proceed with the meeting at this time. Keith?
Great, thanks, Kevin. And thanks everyone for joining. As you know, this is our monthly community call. What we'd like to run through today for people is we'll go through a number of key things to update people, and then at the end leave some time open for questions, comments, etc. So if you're connected there, make sure you have your mic set up, and we can bring you on at the end of the call. Today we're going to talk a little bit about foundation updates. Kevin, just leave it on the agenda slide for now. We'll give you a quick update on the membership program, how that's progressing, etc. We're going to focus a fair amount of time on the version 1.2 project. Hopefully EK Go, our CTO, will be able to join us, and Peter Rice, who's leading development at Imperial College, will join us as well. After that, we're going to have a quick run through of upcoming events. We have a pretty solid upcoming calendar of events, and I want to keep everybody informed on that. We're also asking people for suggestions on what you would like to hear and have us cover in our monthly calls, and then we'll open things up for questions and comments from the community. Next slide. On the membership program, as you all recall, we kicked off the membership program in fourth quarter last year. To date, we've had a lot of interest from the community. We have been going through the process. I think it's taken us a little longer to go through some of the approvals process to get applications finally approved. But we do have 4 applications that have been completed for gold membership. That's Pfizer, Recombinant, Roche, and Takeda. We also have 3 completed for bronze membership. That's Cognizant, The Hive, and Sama Technologies. And then we have a large number of applications that are pending that are working their way through the approval process from a number of different groups. Our expectation today is to have a minimum of 6 gold members overall, and we expect to have more than 15 companies joining the membership in total, given where we are with the program today. We're going to continue running the program throughout the year, and I think a number of companies may join as we go through mid-year, but our goal is to finalize these applications and then hold an election for the board. We'd hope to do that by the end of January. It looks like this will be something that's happening more towards the middle to the end of February at this point, just given the time it takes to get some of these applications approved. We also have gone through the process and offered affiliate memberships to both eTrix and Trait. We are working very diligently to have the foundation very closely affiliated with both these programs, and just as we'll go through in the marketing update, both eTrix and Trait have some upcoming annual meetings that the foundation is also participating in as well. But it's really clear that we want to have a very tight relationship with our partners at eTrix and Trait. Next slide. I'd like to, I don't know, is EK on, Kevin? Can you tell?
I don't believe he is, but Peter is on, and he's unmuted.
Fantastic. So Peter Rice from Imperial College is going to give us the update on the version 1.2 development plan. So I will turn it over to Peter.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me well?
We hear you fine, Peter.
Okay, so tranSMART 1.2, we planned last year in September when we put out tranSMART 1.1 that there were various things that got left out and would need to be put in, and so they're the focus for the 1.2 release to come later this year. I have a date at the end of this. So version 1.1 was an open source GPL version 3, fully tested with full Postgres support. Unfortunately, in doing that, the Oracle compatibility was lost, so we need to put that back and fully support Oracle from the next release. I'm sure a lot of users would find it very helpful to have Oracle and Postgres equally supported. And there were many other development branches out there. It's got a little bit complicated with all the different versions, so the aim is to merge all of those. So in the community session in Paris there was discussion of all of these. A lot of them were presented as part of that meeting. And so we're planning to merge those in. There is an issue for the developers that they're built from various starting points. So some have started from the current release, and they're going to be fairly straightforward. Others have started from an older Oracle version because they've been working with Oracle throughout. And so we might have a bit more work to do to port those in. And they include the Sanofi internal developments, but they're so useful for the Etrix project that they will definitely be merged. Also from companies, we have the Pfizer GWAS implementation and developments from recombinant. Next slide. So all the source code that we're merging is in public repositories. It's all publicly available. What we need to do is pull the whole lot together. We have a hackathon coming up in Boston in 3 weeks' time, where we'll have all the developers who've produced this code to work on merging it together and making one common version that we'll go with for the next release. It's either on the tranSMART Foundation's GitHub or on the Hive's clone of that, and they're mostly working from common versions. So in the hackathon, we've got to find all the changes in these, put them into one common branch, and we'll make a new branch called 1.2 alpha, which will lead to the 1.2 release. So the requests for this were all gathered at the Paris meeting, although we knew pretty much what they were. There was a voting in that meeting on the priorities, and all the top priority ones are key targets for attention in the hackathon, plus things that are being developed for Etrix and for the trait project by the Hive. There's a list of those coming up. Here we are. So these are the high priority ones. The R interface that was presented, there have been some other developments by the Hive and others, so we'll try to put the latest and greatest R interface implementations together. Pfizer GWAS, Pfizer are now coming to the hackathon, so they'll be able to put that in. A bunch of developments from the Sanofi developments were very highly voted on. It's very kind to our hosts at the Paris meeting. They're also very, very important for Etrix because a lot of their requirements overlapped with the requirements we got from the Etrix supported projects. And there's some work by the Next Generation Sequencing Working Group in the Foundation from a bunch of companies and projects on a variation of VCF support. And so that will be added to the new data types. Also for various projects, the Hive have been working on their core API, which will go into the release in full. With Etrix, we've been working on security updates, making the interface work with multiple cohorts. A lot of people working on extensions to the analysis, and we've been working on scalability and performance to improve performance and to improve the scalability of the tranSMART system. And then there were some other things which are also generally useful that got medium priority in Paris, but we'll try to include these as well. So incremental data load is something requested for Etrix and was one of the Sanofi requirements. The Hive have ported interface to the Dalliance browser. Faceted search from J&J, which I think is also part of the Pfizer GWAS. So that'll all be merged in, and recombinant have their latest version to merge in, and they're hosting the hackathon. So this, as of earlier today, was the participation. We now have Pfizer sending someone, and then will probably be other people coming along. We don't have the full list yet, but 3 from Etrix, 3 from Hive, 3 from recombinant, Terry Weymouth from Michigan. Nobody from Sanofi, but we have their developers, so that's okay. We have the Hive developers for their code. And anyone else would like to come along. We're reporting on the wiki, so there's a page on the wiki for the hackathon where we'll cover what we're planning to do, the progress we make at the hackathon, and follow up afterwards. We'll include a bit more detail on the various branches that are going to be included. We'll keep up to date on the progress as we merge the code, test it, and see what issues arise. So it's 3 days of intensely working through all the code in all the branches to find how much we can merge and whether it's possible to merge or whether there are some things we have to do to clean up afterwards. We'll make a list of issues and clean things up, and we'll do a general cleanup of the code, so it'll be leaner and fitter and easier to read code by the time we're done with it. That's something you can only do after the merge. If you clean it up first, it just makes life harder. So we then have a plan to build a comprehensive test suite as we go to test all of the new features. So we'll be creating new tests as part of the hackathon, reviewing the various issues that come up and making an estimate of the work needed and the resources to finish that off. As I say, Etrix has a strong interest in the Sanofi merge, so we'll be putting resources into continuing that. And then a week after the hackathon, we'll have a clear definition of the functionality for things that we can definitely get into the release. Anything else that might have to go on hold, we can report at that point after the hackathon. We'll have the code cleaned up and merged by the end of February, and we'll start making release candidates from the middle of March. And then middle of April, in time for BioIT World, we should have the first alpha release. A beta release as soon as we think we've cleaned that up. We'll finish up the documentation, clean up the testing, and then we set a date of 20th of June for a release. We looked at middle of June, we decided that would be Friday the 13th and made it the week after. So the June community meeting is actually that week. So the actual plan would be that we'd have the release ready in time and plan to announce it on the Friday. So we can tell you all about it in the June community meeting ahead of time, I hope. That's the promise. It's a developer's promise, so take it with as many pinches of salt as you like.
I will hold you to it, Peter, don't worry.
UK will hold me to it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he will. That's great. Thank you very much, Peter. That's a great review. I think we're all pretty excited about the upcoming hackathon and the development of 1.2. I think this is really going to be, a really critical development for the whole community, and that's going to give us all that universal base to grow from as a community. Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Keith. So I'll spend a few minutes reviewing upcoming events, and we'll start by looking at the monthly community call schedule. So January's call is happening as we speak. We have dates set for February, March, April, May, and June. You see those there, the 18th of February and March, the 15th of April, the 20th of May, and the 17th of June. And as Peter articulated, we expect that a major focus of the June 17 call will be on the forthcoming 1.2 release. Everybody on this call has already registered for the meeting. The URL, if you want to share that around with others who might be interested in future community calls, is listed at the bottom. There are, as we've already said, a number of upcoming activities, including amongst some of the consortial activities. TRAIT has their upcoming meeting later this month on the 29th of January. A number of folks on this call will be in Barcelona at the Etrix community meeting on the 31st of January. As you've already heard, the hackathon for version 1.2 is now scheduled for February 5 through 7 in Boston. There's an upcoming conference, the TriCon 2014 conference in San Francisco in mid-February, the 10th through the 12th. If I'm not mistaken, recombinant by Deloitte will be presenting at that meeting. There may be others from the community. In April, we have the annual AMIA Joint Summits on Translational Science, April 7 through 11. And then coming up at the end of April, we have BioIT World 2014, the 29th of April through the 1st of May. Our next face-to-face community meeting is scheduled for June 24 through 26, again, almost immediately after the 1.2 production release. It will be hosted by Janssen at their Springhouse facility in Pennsylvania. And then following that in mid-July is ISMB 2014, July 11th through the 15th. More specifically, around the 1.2 hackathon. I think we've already covered these materials organized by the foundation. Recombinant by Deloitte has graciously hosted to host the hackathon, and travel support is being provided by Sanofi. As you've already heard, goals include a single code base that merges branches that exist today and reflects priorities of the community set at the Paris meeting. There are a number of activities now being planned and scheduled for BioIT World. The foundation will host a pre-conference workshop on Tuesday, April 29th in the afternoon. The agenda will include an overview of the foundation. It will include 3 sponsored corporate talks. We have confirmation from BT Global and are looking for 2 other corporate sponsors who would be interested in presenting at the workshop. If you have an interest in doing so, follow up with Keith or myself afterwards, and we'll schedule things from there. We're also looking at presentations from Sanofi on more the corporate research side. We're looking for an academic presentation that Harvard will present, and then the University of Michigan, working with Johns Hopkins, will present a demo on work that is going on collaboratively between those 2 organizations. On Wednesday, April 30th, we have a number of presentations, including one that will be given at 11 o'clock by Michael Braxenthaler on the evolving community, as you see on the slide. In the afternoon, Peter Henstock from Pfizer will provide an update on work that they're doing around a genome-wide association visual analyzer. And then that evening, we will host a community meeting that Recombinant has graciously offered to host, and in the coming weeks we will work through the details of that, but I expect that it will be very similar to the community meeting that was hosted last year by Thomson Reuters. On Thursday, May 1st, we will follow up with 2 presentations, one that Jay Bergeron from Pfizer will present on activities of the eTrix initiative, and then later in the afternoon, Angela Gaudet will present on work that they're doing around analyses and hypothesis generation. Lastly, the next face-to-face meeting following up on Paris will be hosted by Janssen R&D at their Springhouse location in Pennsylvania. The dates are set for June 24th through 26th, so please save that date. Please plan to attend. As with Paris, we will be organizing the community meeting around code, content, and community. We will be working to put together an organizing committee that will be comprised of both foundation leadership and community representatives, and that committee will be moving forward in the next few weeks. So as Keith has already mentioned, this call is really intended to reflect what the community is looking for in terms of communications and other information. And what we really are looking for is from you representing the community to suggest topics that you would like to see covered on these monthly calls. So please send your suggestions to the email address that you see listed here on the slide, and we will work then to incorporate those into our ongoing monthly community calls. So with that said, we'd like to turn this call over to you to be able to take your questions or to field your comments and enter into the interactive part of our call today.
That sounds great, Kevin. Thank you for that. So I see that we have a couple of key questions that people have posted. Let's run through those really quickly. And then if we have people that would like to make a comment or whatnot, you can raise your hands, and then we can call on people that do that. Okay. So I think we had a quick question on calendar events with calls. So I believe that our community call is set up for the third Tuesday of every month. It's always the same, so mark your calendars. It's the same time slot as the developers call, which takes place on the other Tuesdays every month. So if you have any questions on that, that should be there, but it's always the same. There was a quick question on whether we would anticipate any functions being lost as new functions are incorporated, such as happened with Oracle and Postgres. No, actually, we think that with the version 1.2, it's really about bringing all the branches together, having the functionality of Postgres and Oracle working together, and there are already prototypes of that are working pretty well. What we do expect with the version 1.2 is choices, and that is there's functionality that has been duplicated on several different branches that is slightly, or in some cases, quite different, and there'll be some choices to be made as to how that functionality is merged. But our goal is not to lose any functionality. Third question, is there anything known about Spotfire which should be free for use with tranSMART? There are some updates. We've had a number of discussions with Perk and Elmer around Spotfire and working with the community. We're working forward through some of those discussions. Our hope is to be able to work with Perk and Elmer to make that available, and I think that they certainly continue to have interest in doing so. However, I can't give you any definitive dates or any other details around that. It's still discussions in progress. But our goal is, in fact, to work with PE to be able to make Spotfire available to the tranSMART community. And then finally, I think with respect to additional functionality, Gil Oman has mentioned functionality from these two systems biology, including Regulome, Explorer, Peptide, Atlas, etc. Gil, right now what we're doing with version 1.2 is bringing functionality that's already been integrated into the platform into a common framework, so that from the many branches we're bringing functionality that's already been integrated into tranSMART, but bringing it to a common base. So we haven't anticipated bringing new functionality I don't believe that Regulome, Explorer, or Peptide Atlas have been integrated at this point. But those are the kinds of things that we look at version 1.3 and beyond, as we can now, building from a common base, bring in these kinds of functionality as new functions to bring to the platform. So I don't know if there are any other questions there or any comments from the community. I see Jay has his hand up, so I will see if I can bring him forward. Of course, now I'm forgetting how to activate him.
Hey, Keith, can you hear me?
Oh, now we hear you, Jay.
Okay, great, thanks. So actually, just a couple of points. First, in terms of Regulome, it's kind of interesting. So the folks from Recombinant will know this, but we have a very lightweight implementation of the Regulome data with our genome-wide association studies. Now, again, it's very, very lightweight, but just as an FYI, so Gil or anyone else who is interested in presenting Regulome data through tranSMART, it may be worth having a conversation either with myself, some folks on our team, or with the folks at Recombinant.
Jay, is that part of the Pfizer branch, or is that on the side?
No, it should be part of what will be integrated in.
Oh, fantastic!
It's very, very lightweight. All it does is it associates the Regulome information that is available online with individual SNPs in the GWAS faceted search that we have. Actually, I'd be really interested to see what else other people have in mind for presenting Regulome data.
Great.
All right, just a couple quick questions. I guess the first one is with now a number of members on board, and I know you need to wait till some of the other contracts are put in place formally. But what is the relative timeline for putting together the board? And I asked the question that over the next 4 to 6 months there seems to be I think the strategy of the foundation, I think, is something that we all support in terms of getting 1.2 out the door. But in terms of going into, say, the later half of this year, where we're going to have to think about sustainability and maintaining the membership that's growing currently. So what are your plans for timelines for engaging what would be the new board?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Jay. Our goal had been to have a board election by the end of January with the members that had committed at that point in time. And for us to be committed was that we had a signed membership application, and we had gotten that level of commitment from individual companies. What's happened to us is that we found that the approval process simply to get things signed on that end has been a little bit more bureaucratic than I think we had anticipated. So while we have very strong commitment and participation from a number of members, in fact we expect this to be quite successful, we're still working through some basic legal issues with a number of groups to get those agreements in shape to be fully executed. So I expect we're going to be delayed by about 2 weeks in this. It could be slightly longer. So I would expect around mid-February we'll be able to put things in place to have a board election. It's just a matter of getting a critical mass of groups together so that that's a meaningful election. What we didn't want to do was go forward without having those commitments in place, because we would basically end up with I guess the best word would be a scrawny board, and what we want is a full representation. So I would encourage those companies that still want to participate at that level to participate. And as we work through this, we will be communicating with the community and get that done, I would expect by mid-February.
That's great. Actually, that's great. I would say this, my kind of expectation, because I know how things went for us and probably how things are going for other groups, that even if it was done by like the April-ish time frame in front of the next community meeting, I think from my perspective that's still probably acceptable if it's if that amount of time really allows all of the people who have expressed, or all the groups that have expressed interest in membership to be able to actually sign on as full members. So, but honestly, if it's done in terms of the next month, that's great too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my expectation, Jay, and again, looking at the forecast, and we discussed this at our management meeting this morning, is we have 6 companies that have made the commitment to participate at the gold level, which is beyond our expectations. We have about 15 companies total that have expressed that. The challenge is that the ones that have actually been able to get the agreements approved is about half that at this point. And given that we have 10 board positions that are related to the membership program, we'd like to have that largely filled with defined members, at least initially, to get us moving forward. We also have the 5 at-large memberships that we're in the process of working towards as well. So I think to bring all that together, I wouldn't want to push to April. I don't think we need to do that. But I appreciate your sentiments and comments there and your support. But I do want to get this done as quickly as we can, and I think we do have that critical mass that we need to move forward. It's just a matter of getting through some of the blocking and tackling. The one thing I would mention, though, is we do want to get started on also putting together the community committees, so the community content and code, the 3C committees, and that'll be done simultaneously. And we're in the process of organizing people around that. We've done a lot of homework in terms of the missions and whatnot, so it's we have a little bit of organizing to do to make that happen, but I expect that'll be simultaneous. Okay. Did you want to say anything else, Jay? Are you all set?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. I see another question posted by Gil. Yes, we should meet members who are already signed up and add others as they finalize their commitment. Yep. We could even have a pre-meeting scheduling will surely be challenging. Yes, we do expect scheduling of the board to be challenging. What I can say is we've had some very high-level support for board membership, and I'm very pleased at the candidates that we'll have for that board membership. Finally, it says maybe we should schedule a foundation board meeting at BioIT World on 4/29 as soon as possible. That's an excellent suggestion, Gil. It's something we've discussed, and I think that whether we do that formally or informally, we're certainly going to do that at least informally. But I think formally would be a better option. So, in fact, I will coordinate with you on that Kevin and I can both coordinate with you guys. Does anyone else have a hand up to make a comment, have a question? I don't see any hands up. Kevin, did you have any more comments for us today?
No, from what I can tell, I think we've answered the questions that people on this call are interested in hearing, and certainly we will have more information to share about the 1.2 release, activities around BioIT World in April, and other activities that were reflected in the upcoming events that we presented a little earlier today. So I think we're probably in good shape for today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kevin. Well, I will finish things. I'll give people another opportunity if they have any questions or comments to raise their hands. But I think that from the perspective of the version 1.2, I'm very pleased with how this is going. The group is organizing really well. Peter has stepped up working with Terry to help lead this. We've had sponsorship for the one hackathon. I'd love to get sponsorship for an additional 1 or 2 hackathons that we could bring the groups together for to participate in and move that forward. But I think that the version 1.2 is a really major undertaking for the community, and the foundation is doing everything we can to support that activity and to have it come forward successfully. Jay, I see you've got your hand up again.
Yeah, sorry, just I'll shut up after this. Just a quick comment. Okay. So Peter, would the intent be to run a demo at BioIT World using the alpha version of 1.2? And wouldn't that be a great thing to shoot for?
Yeah, that's the idea. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's the idea, that the alpha version would come with a recommendation of these are the things that you can show. We'd have also collecting test data, so there'll be a much greater set of test data in 1.2. We're getting data from Sanofi, probably other sources as well. And so it'll be a much better system for doing demos.
Yeah, I think that's powerful.
Yeah, Jay, I think that one of the things we can do is we have the community meeting that we're putting together that Deloitte will be hosting, and when we did that last year at the Thomson Reuters site, we had a number of groups come up and give sort of demo/presentations of functionality. I'd love to make that community meeting really focused on the 1.2 alpha, and perhaps Peter and Kevin, we can work on that agenda being around some of that functionality and some real live discussions on where that is, and then some of the tasks that we have to go to a final release. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, Peter, think about how the rest of us can help you, right? Whether it's testing or something else with that version 1.2. Yeah, think of the ways that we can help you get it ready for BioIT World.
Well, and Jay, I think that's this brings up a really good point. Is one of the things that we've done as the foundation is reach out to groups that can, participate in this project in ways that they perhaps thought they weren't able to. For example, 2 areas that are very important for getting us to a production release are testing and documentation. And we've had some preliminary discussions with a number of service providers out there that are not active code developers but are doing more data integration, data cleanup, documentation. And I spoke with Julie at Rancho last week, and I know that they're looking for ways to participate in the 1.2 development in ways that are meaningful, and it can be around testing and documentation. I encourage other service providers out there to participate and find ways of being a key part of the 1.2 development and release. It's not just writing software and merging code that we need to do, but there's a lot in testing, in documentation, and then ultimately in training, because we ultimately have to have the ability to reach out to people and help more users have the capability of using the platform to solve problems. So please reach out to me, out to Kevin, other members of the community, but there's lots of opportunities to be a part of this development process. It's not just writing code. Fantastic. Any other questions or comments out there? I'm looking at the question board. I don't see anything else there. I don't see any more hands up. I love it when meetings end early. So I think given that, let me thank everyone for participating, for joining. Please encourage your colleagues to join these meetings. And Kevin, do you want to flash your slide up there again with the email address on suggestions? But I really encourage people to make suggestions on what you'd like to hear here. And if you would like to volunteer to make a presentation on some aspect of the platform or the community, please send those suggestions as well. And we encourage people to come and make presentations, demonstrations of functionality, those types of things. So if you have those, please send them to this email address. And with that, again, thanks everyone for joining. And we'll have our next monthly call. What's the date for the next monthly call, Kevin? I don't have my calendar in front of me. February 18th. So the next monthly call will be February 18th, and we look forward to having you attend then. So thank you for coming.